Bad.
We're live.
Hey.
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 All right. Ready to roll? Let's do it.
Let's get it.
Performance on Demand Podcast, number 40. 5,
4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Performance on Demand Podcast with Craig and Jeremy, where you will learn all things endurance sports from training and nutrition to mental strength. Everything you need and want to know in one place.
Welcome, everyone, to Performance on Demand Podcast. I am your host, Craig Willard, along with Jeremy Brown on the Google Hangouts.
What up?
What's up? What's up? You over there with your funny little pictures and faces all over again.
Yeah, I think that's supposed to be like some type of mohawk and glasses and a full-blown beard, which actually, if I just had the glasses, everything is normal. So
you look hideous.
At least I'll take that as a compliment. What's up, dude? How are you?
Man, I'm good. I took today off. I spent some time with my daughter, and I'm behaviorism class. I can't even talk. Right before Christmas. I got so much work to do, so many articles to read, and so many things to write. That's what I'm doing today and tomorrow. But anyway, that's what you got to do. What about you, man?
I'm good. How
are you flying over there with your Red Bull?
I am. Red Bull is giving me wings. I actually have a light week this week. Usually my weeks are pretty slammed, but we don't have Kendall's kids here with us, so I don't have anybody to drop off at school or pick up at school. So it's like I don't have to stop my day at 2:00 and go pick up kids. So it's been kind of nice. It's restriction free, so I've been able to get a bunch of coaching stuff done. I had some good meetings, and I even got to enjoy this like 75-degree day and go for a nice little bike ride. So
that's awesome. Very, very cool.
It's just pretty nice. So well, I know you're short on time today, so let's go ahead and hop right into it.
Sure.
I think that I guess by the time this podcast gets out, it'll be Christmas. So
it will be.
Hope everybody had a great Christmas. I just realized that it'll be after Christmas, but and everybody's prepping for a new year. But this podcast, we're going to dedicate it to you, just because we kind of did our last one on me, and we want to get to know who Craig is a little bit more, and I'm sure there's things that I'll learn as we go. So are you nervous? Are you scared? Are you what's going on? What's going on in your mind right now?
The question is, my responses, are they going to make you nervous?
No, because we're uncensored. So I am totally good with that.
No, I'm not nervous at all. You ask a question, you better be ready to accept the answer. That's all I got to say, right?
All right, well, let's hop right into it then. I'm gonna scoot you over my screen so I can still kind of see you and ask these questions. So, first question, we're gonna start off pretty simple, pretty innocent.
No.
When you were little, okay. Well, I won't wait for that check to get here then. When you were little, what did you want to be? And we all had those little dreams as a kid and goals, and some of them came true, some didn't. What was yours?
Actually, I wanted to be an astronaut. Who did want to be an astronaut? I remember, I still have, matter of fact, I gave it to my daughter just the other day, this huge book of Earth and these pictures, these amazing pictures from out on the, whatever it was out then those days. I don't know what it is even now, but they were taking all these gorgeous pictures of the planet and certain parts of the continent and whatever. And then also out in, Mars and all those things. Man, who didn't want to do that? I even had a manual about how to be an astronaut. And I read it. I was ready. Not ready.
Right. One of the coolest things, I've told this before, I've got two guys that I work with that actually work for NASA. One of them is an engineer, and basically everything that's on the space station he has touched, which is super cool to me. And then they work with astronauts day in, day out. And the other one actually, I don't know if he's over the department, but he helps to process all of the images that the International Space Station sends back. He's actually a photographer. So really cool. We've got two people in the Moderate family that are kind of in what you and I both wanted to do as kids. So I think that's cool.
That is really cool. I evolved quite a bit, multiple stages of different things that I wanted to do, and I'm still working on when I grow up what I want to be. But
Don't grow up. That should have been the answer to that.
You never grow up.
Grow up.
Especially if you listen to this podcast, we never grow up.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. All right, that was kind of easy. So here's another one that should be right in your wheelhouse, I think. What is the best book you've read so far this year, and the best book you've ever read?
Best book I've ever read. Let me go with that one. Daniel Pink's Drive. I started doing this. I became a director of IT back in 2009, and the hardest thing for me was trying to understand how to become a leader, how to manage, lead. Do you manage people out, lead people, or all these different theories that went on about management. And so I happened to watch a YouTube video about this book. Daniel Pink, and Drive is basically about the three main motivators in which businesses don't really, there's so much research and history on these three motivators, but businesses don't seem to subscribe to this data, this information, and that is the three main motivators are purpose, autonomy, and mastery. So if you give people purpose, you help them understand, you don't really give them purpose, but you help them understand what their own purpose is by reflecting internally, and then taking that purpose and driving it into their position to say, this is how you can meet that purpose. And then mastery is the ability to people to, become a master through skills, to do better, to learn on the job, to make a mistake and be able to move on and grow from it, and not have people so scared to push a little bit beyond the limits to grow and develop. So mastery, and then autonomy, which is the ability to, it's freedom. It's what America's all about. So it's making sure that you give people the ability to do what they do and not have to micromanage them. And so I read that book several years ago, and I implemented it throughout my position, as being a director, and it's really, I know.
I implemented that.
Yeah, that did that.
Top three moment right there. Unscripted.
It just rolled out, but I implemented that, and it really made a big difference. I grew as a leader because I used to feel like I was the only person that knew how to do something right, and so when the guys that worked for me did it and didn't do it the way I wanted them to do it, I had to go in there and tell them, this is how you do it. And actually had a guy come in and talk to me one day and just said, this isn't working for us. And it was a very eye-opening experience for me.
Tough pill to swallow too.
It was, but it was exactly what I needed. It was those words that humbled me and made me step back and say, okay, I got to figure this out. I am not doing this right.
Right.
So let's readjust. It's almost like goal setting. It's readjust. Let's learn some things. Let's apply some new processes, and let's do this better. And it got better. So that was probably that would be it. Now, as for books this year, it seems like all I've done is textbooks. I haven't really read anything for fun. Now, I will tell you, there is do I have a copy of it? Let's see.
And Craig is currently looking for a book. If you are not,
I don't have.
Or not watching.
I don't have a copy of it, but it was it's a magazine. It's called Mind. It's the Science Mind. It's what I probably read more often than anything. I just don't read books at this point. Now I do listen to a lot of audibles.
Right.
Yeah, and so Life Unlocked is a really good one, and that's basically about fears and how the amygdala functions and how it processes information from all your sensories, from it's from your sensories. But it's how
damn sensory things.
It's funny, the amygdala processes things before your mind actually processes it, and that's why you freak out. And then you're like, oh, that's you see a coiled up rope and you go, oh my gosh. But really, you're like, oh, that's stupid. That's just a rope.
Right.
And so it's that protection mechanism. And so it talks about fears and things of that nature, which is really good. So Life Unlocked is a really cool book. Check it out.
Good. Great suggestions. And just a note on what you said a minute ago, it is, I find it extremely, you and I have discussed leadership and those 3 principles, and you enlightened me to those. And, I always look at myself as, a good leader, but I think that's a huge skill set that is ever evolving, ever growing. So I definitely would recommend. I have not read that book, but just what you have taught me from the book, I can say I definitely want to check it out. It's on my list. So
it's amazing. It really is. It's a simple book. It's easy to read, but it's pretty flippin' amazing. I love it.
Good,
I love
good.
it. I do. So,
all right. So the next one, what makes you feel afraid?
Knowing I have homework that's due in
and you're drinking
hours,
a beer
and I'm drinking a beer. I want to get it down. I'll figure it out somehow. What makes me feel afraid? I don't really have rooftops.
Like heights?
Heights.
Heights.
Yeah. But, I do fly. I've got 13 hours and towards my pilot's license. I can fly. I'll fly that thing upside down. You put me on a 10-foot roof, I'm about to poop myself. Yeah. No, it's a matter of time whether I am coming off that roof. In fact, I'm probably not going to get on it. That's just the way it is. So heights is a thing for me that I just don't care much for. And then trying to think what else. I mean, I have fears, but they're more of a driver. I fear. I think we all do to some level, whether we would admit it or not. I think we all feel that leaving a legacy is really important.
Right.
And so that I leave the values that I feel are important for my daughter to understand, and know whether she can, she accepts the values as something that she agrees to. They're not to be imprinted on her, but they are. I openly, I want to leave a legacy, and so everything that I do is to help other people to as they say, how do you want your eulogy to go? And I hope that at some point they say, Craig gave his all to anyone and everyone that was willing that came to him, or that he came to them. I want to help as many people as I can. So maybe a bit of fear of not leaving a legacy.
Right. Okay. That's a good one. So which of your 2 parents are you most like?
Oh my gosh. I'm a mix of both. I'd like to say I'd probably say I'm more like my mom than I am my dad. Done nothing against my dad, but I do. My mom's. That's a dang. I don't know. How'd you put me on the spot?
Well, I just saw that one, and that's not even on the list. I saw that a minute ago, and it got me thinking, which am I like? And I thought, that's a really good question, because I don't think that I don't know that I've ever sat down and thought, man, sometimes there's things that come out there, I'm like, oh, it's just like dad, or oh, it's just like mom. But I've never sat down and thought, which of their personalities do I carry the most?
Yeah, I don't know. I do believe I love my individual perspective in that. I think the great thing about being a child is that you can look at your parents and take the best of both, and apply them. And I don't think we oftentimes think about that, but sometimes we take the bad ones too. But I try to take the best of my perspective of each of my parents, and thankfully I have hardworking parents. They didn't go to college. I think my mom may have a little bit. My dad has a tad, but neither one of them have their college degree. But they're worldly smart. They're street smart. And my mom was a huge influence in me personally, and helped me become much more in tune with my emotional side. And so I feel like I'm a bit more emotionally driven than most. However, that also has its it has its side where you have to be cautious. You have to be very somewhat knowing that I'm more. We're all emotional creatures, but I'm probably a little bit more than most. So I would say probably my mom.
Okay. All right. So the next one, and this is always a good conversation starter.
All right.
All right. You sitting down? Are you ready?
No, let me sit down though. Let me grab a beer. Hold on. Just kidding.
If you could choose between using Internet Explorer forever or permanently using AOL email address, which would it be?
AOL email address. I can't stand Internet Explorer. In fact, yeah, the exploder. In fact, I am a Google Chrome fanatic, and I know a lot of people. There are things about Chrome that if you get a bunch of windows open and you sit for a little while, next thing you know, those will start building up, and if you don't shut it down, it doesn't do much anything. It just locks up. Other than that, I love Google Chrome. So give me my AOL. I actually still have an AOL email address. Crazy enough.
When somebody gives me their email address and it's AOL, I instantly judge them. Immediately, I pass judgment.
You're like, I may as well just write you a letter and put it in the mail and ship it to you. Does AOL require you to have postage stamps? I don't know.
Are they like connect with stamps.com? You gotta have an account. Is that how that works?
What is it? Was it something boys or what is that? The online stamp company, whatever they are.
Oh Jesus.
That's funny.
All right, so here's a good one for you. Number I don't know what number we're on anyway. What do you love most about yourself? Steve, I find it. Here's the thing, and I'll say this while you're thinking. I find it funny if you ask a question like this to someone, you can pick out the people generally that are more of the giving, open-hearted type because they don't have an answer for these type questions. Like, the question of, well, what's your best personality trait? Fuck, I don't know. You got to think about it. But if someone, and you'll ask other people who have a different personality type, and they're immediately like, oh, I love this. They're very sure of it. But for me, this is a tough question because I don't ever look at myself and judge myself as what I do like and don't like.
Yeah. So
I'm trying to buy you some time there. I don't know if that works.
So say the question.
What do you love about yourself most? It could be emotional.
Of anything, other than I say on one front, it's one thing I love most is being a dad, being a parent. To me, and of course, I don't want to break in if you have another random question about this, but to me, my daughter's birth was a rebirth of me. It took me from being in the 20s and irresponsible and very selfish to having to look at things a lot differently and to recognize that it's not me that's so important, yet it's my daughter. And what I learned from that is that it's other people are important more so than myself. And so while I do hold, myself to a level of importance, I still have to be, prepared and all these things, but it's, being a parent. The other thing, if I had one more that was not about my daughter, it was that what I love about myself is my continued, my guy no. The one thing I love about myself is my last, OBGYN was clear. I was good.
This house is clear.
No, is that I have a insanely strong drive to learn that which I can apply to other individuals in coaching.
Right.
And I never stop. And it drives people crazy, but that's okay because it doesn't drive me crazy.
Right.
But I feel, and this has happened for many years ago where when I was coaching my staff, I felt like I didn't have the skills, so I went out and seeked them. I asked my company for them. They kind of were a little hesitant to do it, and I said, "Fine, I'll go do it myself because I want to be prepared and I want to have every opportunity available to help someone that needs assistance."
Right.
So constant, strong, driven. Sometimes it's 2:00 in the morning, and I'm still going and thinking, "Wow, I got to be up in 5 hours to go to work."
Right. And you are a late sleeper. So
I love it.
Next
I didn't
one.
go to bed the other day till like noon. It was the
Next
greatest
one
thing
is
ever.
two-part question. One, do you have any tattoos? This is such a first date question.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Two, if you got a new tattoo, what would it be?
Be invisible.
Invisible.
I'm covered in tattoos. I can see them. I don't know why you can't. I mean, I got sleeves for. I got sleeves for. Do you see that? That's a snake, but I don't know if you see that or not. That's the thing. Awesome. So, why I got my tattoo, I don't know. I was 20. I think I was 21, and I don't really have that outward expression as a need of mine. People, and you talking about a story. Ask people that have sleeves about their tattoos. They have all this reason behind them, and that's phenomenal. It's not been something that's ever really, I got one, and they said, you'll never get one. You'll want 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I haven't had no desire at all to ever have another tattoo. Yeah. So if I were to get another one, what would it be? Maybe love. I'm just kidding. I'm totally kidding.
You spell it backwards so you can look in the mirror.
Wait, which way does it go? No, seriously, just kidding. For those listening that have love written on their fingers, as you can't see unless you're listening or seeing our YouTube video. But yeah, I really don't have an interest. Okay. Maybe yeah, none. Got it. Sorry.
All right, last question. What would you? I know, right? What would you like to eat for your last meal?
Hibachi.
For your last meal?
Game, set, match. Steak. So filet, chicken, fried rice.
Oh, fried rice.
Sapporo. I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good for me. I would guess though that for my last meal, hopefully I've exhausted every opportunity of my being possible, and that my last meal would be through an IV because I didn't need it. That's awesome. Your last meal is that bag up there on the
right.
Up there.
So let me throw one bonus question out here.
Okay.
So, and you kind of hit me with this one in mind. If you could go back and undo anything you've done or redo any portion in time, what would it be?
We asked you this question. I can't. Everything that I did was completely on a different path. And I think about this when you walk in the woods, you come to the beginning of the woods and you see this path people have taken, and so. It's a path people have taken because it's dirt, all the grass is done, but that's a common path that everybody always takes. And I never really was a common path kind of guy. I never took the common path. I found the most ridiculous, hardest, strangest direction, and that's where I went.
And for an example of this, see the first motorcycle purchase.
Yeah, right.
That story has to come out someday.
Maybe one day. Maybe one day. But I didn't go to college till I was older. I didn't. And it's funny. As soon as I started college, and I barely graduated high school. I mean, I did. I'm not sure. I probably should have. If it weren't for my mom, I probably wouldn't have. But barely graduated high school. I really didn't. I really didn't have control of my life in that regard. I kind of sat in the passenger side seat until I was around 30 or so, and I haven't stopped school since. And the guy that was making the 1.72 GPA in high school, makes 3.4, 3.5 because now it's at a place where I want to be here and I want to do it. And there's all these things that have happened to me, whether it was my, I was diagnosed with general anxiety disorder and all these are random things that have and there's not one single one of them that I would have changed. If it weren't for the going through the anxiety, I wouldn't be such a strong believer in helping people through anxiety and recognizing that it's not something you have to live with, and it's definitely not something that defines you. And I love helping people with it. But My daughter changed my life completely. Was I ready for that? No. Did I expect it? No. Did I have ever plans of being a parent? I wasn't quite sure. I was still in me mode. I didn't care about anything like that.
Right.
I wasn't the best boyfriend to people. It just, I wouldn't change a single thing. I love where I'm at, while being, a full-time worker in healthcare, a coach, a life coach, a mental coach, doing podcasts, getting my education, to being a single father. I wouldn't trade any of it. And people ask you all the time, how do you even do it? And when you do something, it's like, when you ride for 4.5 hours,
Right.
when you do what you do.
Just do it.
Yeah. The first time it's hard. Yeah, it gets tough. But after you get accustomed to it, you're like, wait a minute. It's work, but it's a way of life. And
Just what I do.
It's just what I do. I do what I do. And it's, people will look at you and say, well, I don't know how you do that. And I'm like, I don't know how I don't. I mean, every time that I went from a small transition from undergrad to master's, and from master's to my PhD, I felt a bit lost, because as we talked about with goal setting, once you achieve it, then you're like, now what?
Right.
You're looking around for, I'm here now what? And so I didn't quite prepare. And that's also taught me about goal setting and how that can help people out. But, mainly, I am who I am because of all the things that I've experienced. And as you talked about on your podcast or on your interview, if you change any piece of that, you change it all. And I'm not interested. I'm not, even as a single parent, I'm not interested in changing any aspect. I have no regrets. I think everything's a lesson, and I think everything is here on purpose. I really do. Whether, and I don't, doesn't have to be any, and that's it's a faith of sorts, not in the sense of religion, but it's in the sense that that's how I make what's going on acceptable to me, is that I feel like it's on purpose.
Right. Well, and it's funny you say that, because it's just something that I've discussed with Kendall at length, and I think you and I, there's an age difference, but you and I have walked down that virtually the same path. Like our paths were parallel. If we were the same age, we would have been side by side on these paths. And Kendall finds it hard to believe that 10 years ago, I was not who I am right now. Not even anywhere close. 15 years ago, nowhere even close. But I think, like you were saying, as we grow, we evolve, and things get put in our path to make us deviate off the path that we're on and get on a different path. And then we finally found that path that we feel we belong on. And then we're like, okay, this is what it's about. Or at least that's my experience with it. So
no, I think so. I think every day you have a choice. Every day, not every day, every second. Everything that we do, we have a decision to make. And we make so many of them without thinking about them. We make so many of them without understanding what is the ramification, because there is always a ramification for a decision. What is the ramification for this decision? And is it in a direction in which I want to go?
Right.
Because we oftentimes think about that after the fact, and it's too late.
Right.
The ramification has already evolved. And so we've all had these paths we've taken, and we chose at one point or another to make that path our decision.
Right.
And you have to make the decision whether you think about it or not, but you're still making that decision. You could have been a completely different perspective if you had chosen not to be about other people.
Right.
If you did not feel that you wanted to let go of being selfish and being about you, then your kids would have suffered, your family would have suffered,
right?
Everything else would have suffered. Instead, you made a great decision to say, "Hey, I got to man up. I got to do the right thing here." And then it becomes part of your action. It's becoming your process, and it's now in automation.
You know what I think is cool about it too is that I think that's what makes you and I such good coaches. And I'll go ahead and say that we are good coaches, is because we've been there. Like, no matter where somebody comes to us, you and I have got life experience involving that in some aspect. Not every individual situation, but the majority of the time, you and I have got some pretty legit world experience, right?
Yeah.
And so we can draw on that when we do help people, and that's kind of I guess a year ago, we started connecting and doing stuff. And I think that's why it all came together. It's just, it was the right time. We were both in a place on our journeys that it was just kind of in sync with each other, and we've continued to grow in the past year just through each other and through doing this and through helping people and providing opportunities for the other person to help somebody. And so, kind of with all that said, thank you for getting all this started. I mean, you're the one that, nobody knows this, but Craig does all the legwork. All I have to do is find the time, which I still struggle to do, show up, sit down, and talk. He does the editing. He has $1,000 worth of freaking audio equipment there. Me, I've got a laptop and the stupid little plug thing and headphones, and only one headphone works. So
it works perfect.
Yeah. So you're definitely the brains behind the operation, and I truly appreciate it. I know all of our listeners do appreciate it. And you don't take compliments well because you won't look at me while I'm saying it. So but no, thank you very much. Seriously.
I do take compliments. It's to me, again, this is another connection with people that would not naturally we would not naturally connect with. And that's the cool thing about social media. And people have so many negative complaints or negativity towards social media. And again, you make it what you want. I want to reach people. You want to reach people. We both have been down these paths, so we both understand. And that's a hard thing, I think, for coaching specifically. It's hard to coach things that you don't, A, believe in, but two, have ever somewhat experienced on some level. Now, many will tell you, I'm not, I'm not a triathlete.
Right.
But that's not my expertise as much as it is how the mind functions. And the mind functions the same no matter if you're a triathlete or if you're an executive or if you're a light, or it doesn't matter what you are on what part of the planet. The things that we coach and the things that help our triathletes are things that help you in life. And that's the neat thing about it. But from a coaching perspective, it's understanding where they are in their life, because when you coach, you don't coach and meet people where you are, you coach where they are. You have to understand their position so that you can help them get to where they want to go by experiencing some sort of path that they've went on or that they're currently on themselves.
Correct.
And I think that's the power of what we've been able to offer, is that you have such a great way of coaching people because you connect well, and I help with the mental side, and together it makes a very, very neat, very functional package it's extreme. It just functions. It just works.
Right.
And those who have experienced both pieces together, it's been quite amazing.
It's been fun. It's
been neat.
Awesome.
What else? Anything else?
You got any little hidden skeletons laying there behind you in that closet you want to throw out here and let us beat up on? I hear the door.
Yeah.
Get your ass back in the closet.
I'm a pretty, I think I'm a pretty simple individual. I think a lot of people probably feel that I'm quite complex, but I'm not. I do, I think anytime wait, no, I don't say this. Anytime you talk to someone who's in psychology, people's assholes start to pucker up.
Right.
Like, oh, what? What the hell? Oh my God, I gotta go.
Right.
See ya.
Right.
Because they think that I'm constantly judging of sorts. I'm evaluating, and while there's probably a little bit of truth to that, it's not. It helps. It's not that I sit there and go, "Oh, you got all kinds of problems." It's more about how I can adjust myself to make sure that I just don't want to upset people. I don't want to be the asshole that says some stupid stuff to people and it offends them or affects them. That's not my role. That's not what I want to do. Not even as a friend. That's not what I want to do. So, the only thing is I just love to help people, and I just love it. I absolutely love it. If I could do podcast every day and coaching every day, I could probably live in a shack in the middle of the woods. I wouldn't care.
With
I
Wi-Fi.
really wouldn't care at all.
With Wi-Fi.
I gotta have good internet. And in Frankfort, Kentucky, it's not so great. About every 6 months, I got to go out there, and there's, the barbed wire that runs to the pole is rusted. So I got to go out there and put some W40 on it and sand it down. Next thing you know, speed picks up, and I'm good for a couple months, and then I got to do it again.
Jesus.
But that's the way it is in Kentucky. No, thanks for the
Awesome,
interview.
dude. Yeah, no, that's fun. I think it's going to be good. I think people are going to enjoy it because we don't like I said on mine. We don't ever talk about ourselves, which we're not the type to do that. So when you get put on the hot seat, it makes you think. It's like, well, I know what my values are, but what the hell are my values? How do I portray that? How do I? And I think that I don't think that anybody's really going to learn anything that they don't already know that haven't been listening to podcasts, because we're pretty open. Like who we are in the podcast is who we are in real life, and that's who we are, period. So it's not like, it's not like this is something where it's going to be earth-shaking, like, oh my God, Craig likes to help people? Oh, holy shit. I missed that.
Right.
There's no magic in any of this, but I think it is good to kind of highlight what we do and why we do it, and try to explain our passion a little more, because there are people in the world, and Kendall's one, like Kendall does this. She immediately looks for the issue with a situation or with a person. And so when someone does something, like when we first started podcasting, she's like, well, why would Craig go and spend all his own money and put all of his time into this? He's getting nothing out of it. I said, that's how people are. Like, that's how he is. He wants to do it. He's passionate about it. He wants to do it. And I think that it really shows in what we do, is that, like, we don't have an ulterior motive. The only ulterior motive we have is to help people succeed in whatever they're trying to do.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, that's our only goal. Could we sell advertising space? Yeah, sure. Could we make a couple dollars? Cool. But we don't want to do that. We're not in that position. We have no desire to do that right now. It's
right.
How can we use our skills and our reach to help people, empower people, change lives? And I think that, for me, that's one of the biggest things. And I think that's why we connect so well. We share that same common ground.
Yeah. I think there's anytime, and I've said this on some of the podcasts, but anytime you focus on money, anytime you focus on what's in it for me, I mean, and there's a level of there's a level of expectation that you have to focus on me, to the point that I got to make sure I'm fed, that I have, a roof over my head, the needs of being a human being. But beyond that, if you have what you need, and we both have what we need, if I focus on money, I'm not going to, A, give a good product, and B, it's going to be so pointed towards always come to me, get, and that's just, I'm not like that. In fact, we've had other coaches on the stage, and we'll continue to, and we'll bring on big people that are highly influential in this sport, and they have a message too. And it's not that theirs is any better or any worse than mine. It's just that they have something to provide, and we want to get it to you. And we get so, the neat thing is the comments we get about what we do. We want to be different. We want to have fun and goof off, and we're probably some of the goofier people that do podcasts, because we as they say, don't take life too seriously, because you're not getting out alive anyway. So we take what we know seriously, in our desire to help, but how we give it to you is ridiculous, and that's what we do. And so
absolutely.
And the work is not any big deal. Again, I always feel like if you give, you'll receive, and it'll come, and it may be in 10 years, or maybe maybe when I'm on my deathbed. But you know what? If I were to, and this is a question I think is really kind of interesting for people, is that if you were, to die tomorrow, if you were to be told that you have 24 hours to live, what are the thoughts in your mind? Are you going to be running around doing 8 million things that you go, oh shit? What if you were fully functioning? You were literally could run, do anything, you drive your car, whatever, but you knew tomorrow you expired. Right. What would you do? Or would you say, you know what? I have given every single day to everything that I could to helping other people. There's not much else I could ask for. You know what I'm going to do for the next 24 hours? I'm going to help more people. That's what I'm going to do. Because again, as I talked about earlier, it's about living that, building that legacy. It's what are you going to leave behind? Who you're going to touch every single person that you talk to, or walk by, talk to, meet with. In some level, you are affecting those individuals on some level. Yep. And you got an option. You can leave them in a better position, or you can leave them in a worse position. It's totally your choice.
Choice is absolutely yours.
Choice is yours. And so my strong belief is that I leave everybody in a better position than they got to me. Whether sometimes, let's be honest, sometimes I assume I left them in a better position. I didn't do a good job, and that's okay. I learn about that, and I work on it, and I fix it. And sometimes I don't always do. I mean well. Sometimes it just doesn't come across right. So I constantly learn too. That's it. That's all I got. That's me.
Good stuff, dude. Yeah,
that's who I is. That's who I be.
What's the total time on this podcast?
40 minutes.
Oh, damn it. You're more interesting to me by 5 minutes.
Well, here's the thing that you don't know about me. So, and people that are listening, if you've ever experienced, so not that long ago, I did a disc. It's
now
called
now you're just making it even. You're making yourself.
I know. I'm gonna make it even longer. You're gonna know why here in a minute. So I made it I did this thing at work. It's called DISC. So it's whether you're dominant, influencing, conscientious, or steadfast, whatever.
DISC.
DISC, like disc.
Okay. Yeah. You inverted the S and the C, so it's called disc. And I was like,
I was thinking about a different direction. And so what they do is you take these things of this test, and if you look at some of the other personality tests, there's like 16 or 15 or 20 of them, and you're like, how do I have to deal with all these people? Well, DISC is only 4. And what I learned is that I am an influencer, and so the lady that was doing the class had a phone call with me sometime before we were working on a dissertation question. There's a lady that works for a company, and she's talking to me, and we talk and talk and talk. She asked me all these questions. Well, then next thing you know, we have this big directors meeting, and come in, and she's the one that's actually teaching this class. And so she kind of calls out on me, and she's talking about all these different groups of people. And she goes, the funny thing is that some people are one thing, but then they kind of morph into another thing because they have to. And she points to me, and she goes, like Craig Willard. She goes, I was having a conversation with Craig Willard the other day, and I was listening to him, and he was, as I was listening to him, I was bringing in what he was, and I was like, okay, so he's a C, so he likes very bullet pointed things, blah 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 blah. And she goes, and then he kept talking, and then he kept talking, and she goes, wow, that's more of an I. And so what she said was, she goes, what I figured out was, he really by nature is an I, which loves to talk, loves to socialize and be with people. She says, but for his job, I's don't do well in IT, C's do. So he's evolved to be a C at work, right, for his position, but an I outside of that. And so I am an influencer, and I love to talk, and that's part of my personality.
Yeah.
43 minutes later.
You bastard. Let's wrap this before you completely dominate me on this one.
Do people even really care about 43 minutes of this dude?
Not so much.
No one cares. My mom will care. My mama.
I'm interested to see who she listens to first, mine or yours. I get a head start, but you are the golden child. So
that's right. So
we'll see. We'll see if she's willing to wait and listen to yours before mine. I'd be interested to see how that works out.
Great questions.
Yeah, awesome stuff, dude.
That wraps it up. So if you want to get a hold of us, Performance on Demand podcast at gmail.com. Please reach out to us. We'd love to hear. If you hate the show, we'd love to hear that too.
Please tell us.
Seriously, we love communication, and so we get communication from many people, and we greatly appreciate that. And if you have questions, comments, or topics that you'd like us to get with or to use, please let us know. Also, find us on Facebook. You can also find us on a Performance on Demand podcast. performanceondemand.net. You can find us in iTunes, Stitcher, Podcast Addicts, Podcast Bay, I think is what it's called. You can also find us on YouTube.
For you at AOL.com.
I don't have stamps right now. I can't send that.
No, don't send it there. I can't reply.
And then last but not least, we have started a YouTube page. It is probably going to be slow to get. We just get out there and subscribe. By golly, subscribe. You never know what we're going to put up there. It may not always be just our podcast stuff. It may be other random stupid things that we like to throw out there just to have fun. But anyway, thanks everyone. Jeremy, last comment before I hang this baby up.
That's it.
You're crazy. And for those listening that are with the Pathetic group, soon.
We're coming for you.
We're going to have an open forum for the Pathetic group on Facebook. So if you want to be part of that, you have to join the group in order to be a part of the group. So join the Pathetic group on Facebook, and then you'll see on there our invitation to an open forum where Jeremy and I are going to talk to all those individuals who feel
Come
like
hang out with us, have a beer.
Have fun. Yep, that's it. Otherwise, everyone take care. Talk to you soon.
Later.
Jeremy. Later, buddy.